kind of a shout out video. My friend Hano Saint, he has a channel for gaming, but he's also recently made a channel that's called The Basics, where he tries to teach the very beginner level of painting and terrain building for people that like tabletop RPGs like me. So if you play D&D or war games, things like that. He is trying to be a very entry level, show the very basics of what it is. So this is my little shout out video. I'm gonna have a link to his channel, The Basics, in my description. And then along with that, I'm also going to go ahead and make a little craft of my own, and kind of celebration for that. So yeah, I'm gonna cut to me working on that. Woo! All right. So this is what I'm going to be showing you guys to build today. It is probably one of my favorite builds that I've ever made. It is just a little cart wagon. I actually have built two. This one's a little bit larger, but I'm going to be showing you how to do this smaller one. I like this because in just about every D&D campaign that I've been in and run, a cart of some kind comes up, whether it's to block a road or something like that. Alright, first you need a material to make it. My preferred material is Ready Board. It is super cheap, easy to use, and can be found at most Dollar Trees here in North America. I'm not sure about everywhere else. Alright, now you need a cutting utensil. I'm going to be using this off-brand Olfa knife I bought at the Dollar Tree, though an X-Acto knife or a kitchen knife would work just as well for it. There are several different ways to make wooden texture on foam. I'm going to be using my preferred method and the method that's shown by Black Magic Craft, which is using a wire brush that I bought at the Dollar Tree. Alright, I know what you're thinking. Paints, they're expensive, blah blah blah, but the paints I'm using here are actually super cheap. I buy them at Walmart and they're about 50 cents each. All you're really going to need for this build is a white and a brown. And as for brushes, you can get away with just dollar store brushes for this. The good part about using Ready Board is the paper that is on both sides of the foam is easy to peel off. So you're going to want to do that. That way you just have the foam core. Alright, now I'm going to use the one that I've previously made to get the measurements for the new one. In case you're wondering, it measures about 3 inches long. Now that I know about how much foam I'm going to need, I go ahead and cut the foam board down to a more usable piece. The nice part about this project is it doesn't require a lot of foam, meaning you can make several of these or you still have a lot of foam for other projects. Alright, now I'm marking and measuring out my foam. Alright, now I'm going to use my wire brush to go ahead and put the wood texture on some of the pieces. You do this by applying light pressure and running your wire brush across the foam. Do it all in the same direction, that way it looks like the wood grain. Alright, now it's time to start cutting out your pieces. Alright, now I'm cutting out the longest pieces, which will both be the handles and side rails to the cart. Your cuts don't have to be perfect. After all, this is wood. It being a little wavy on the cuts actually adds to its believability. Alright, an important step that I have a tendency to overlook. Remember to texture the sides that you just cut. Alright, now I'm determining the dimensions for the belly of the cart. I eventually settled on it being 1 inch wide by 2 inches long. Alright, now for the assembly. So usually I would use Eileen's tacky glue, but in order to help me speed up this process for the video, I'm going to use hot glue on this one. Alright, now simply glue on the railing. Sorry about the bad angle, but after that stage, it should look something like this. Alright, now to make the tailgate. I just take a smaller piece of the foam and just cut it and sandwich it into the back end of the railing. Alright, now I'm going to make this bit that looks kind of like an axle and will also help us with gluing the wheels on in a bit. Alright, and now to make the wheels. I just use a spare WizKids mini base that I happen to have on hand, though something like a coin would work just as well. I grab a piece of foam, I take the base, and I place it against the edge of it and then just press down, and it will leave a small ring that I can use to help me cut out the circle. Alright, and to get those wood plank textures, all you're going to do is take whatever you've been using to cut and draw 2 cuts in it to make it look like there's 3 boards. And then all I had on hand was a small screwdriver, but use a pin or something to widen those holes to exaggerate the look of different planks. Alright, and to get that little dot that looks like the axle is running through it, simply grab a little spare cut off piece, and you're going to take a little section and glue it into the middle of each of your wheels. It doesn't matter if it's too long right now, as you'll cut it and make it look right here in a second. Alright, after that step, your wheels should slightly resemble nipples. It's a little odd, but it's okay. You're going to now take whatever you've been using to cut and just cut them a little closer to flush with the wheel. Alright, time to glue on your wheels. If you're using tacky glue, you're going to have quite a bit of playtime to actually get the wheels where you want. But if you're using hot glue like me, you don't have nearly as much time, so you got to get it a little closer to right on your first try. Alright, it's time to talk about painting. The easiest way to go about it would be just to paint it all brown and call it good. And to be honest, it would look really good just like that. Though I personally am going to go for a slightly more detailed and weathered look on my piece. I'm going to be honest, painting isn't my strong suit. If you really want to learn how to paint your terrain and minis well, do go check out Hanon's Basics channel. I would advise watching his Manticore video because he will give you the basics of both base coat, washes, and dry brushing. But for this, I used a kind of golden brown, and then I was going to follow it up with a dry brush of gray, and then a dry brush of tan, and then I would finish it off with a brown wash. Alright, for dry brushing, one of my favorite brushes to use is actually a makeup brush. They're super soft and carry a nice amount of paint, but not too much paint, making it really easy to dry brush. Also, they're super cheap. You can buy them at the Dollar Tree. Warning, I kind of messed up my paint job because I was in a rush trying to do this. Because of that, I don't actually let my base coat completely finish drying when I apply my dry brush, and then I don't completely wait for that to dry when I apply my next layer of dry brushing. I would advise against that. Wait for things to dry. It'll turn out way better, I promise. It might be hard to tell, but this was after my dry brushing of gray. I did it very light, and that's what dry brushing does. It just highlights the highest recesses of things. Now for my light dry brushing of tan. Remember, I didn't completely let my gray dry brushing dry first. And the end, again, this kind of hindered how it looked. I know it looks really bright right now, but that will change after you apply washes. For me, I'm going to apply this brown wash, and then I will follow it up by applying a black wash. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't totally happy with the way the paint looked even after the washes. So what I ended up doing off camera was dry brushing with a really dark brown, and then a very, very, very light dry brushing with a tan. And after that, it actually looked a lot better. Well, I shouldn't say better. It looked good even beforehand, but I like my pieces to look extremely worn and weathered. Before I did that, it still looked good, it just didn't look weathered. It still looked pretty new. Well, this is how it looks when it was finished. I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, go check out Hainon's channel, The Basics. It's awesome, and it'll be a great place if you're new to the hobby. Alright, this isn't going to become a common thing on my channel. In fact, I'm not planning on doing any more videos like this. But if you enjoyed it and would like to see more, let me know in the comments, and maybe next time I'm crafting, I'll go ahead and record that too. Alright, now go take this craft and make it your own.